All right, so we start with what is the context for what I am wearing? There's two contexts basically, one of which is what if you want to put together an inexpensive, but here's Tactical Cat, inexpensive but duty ready kit. Um, I feel it's duty ready. That is under $1,000, so total. And I would say the total cost of the equipment is probably close to, if not slightly under, $1,000. Next up, we have to consider what is the mission. So everything for me starts with a budget. And then from there goes to what is the mission and how do you maximize capabilities for the mission within the budget. Okay, so then we have our mission here. So when I wrote this map, this was facing, um, I was facing south. So I wrote it with that way being south. So then we start to look at what's our context, what is our mission 3 months after a event. We are now patrolling. We're now patrolling in a civilian context. So this is not a very aggressive military posture. So what is the goal of a civilian patrol in this context? And the goal of the civilian patrol is going to be basically, now for me, I just decided this was going to be EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, and a coronal mass ejection. First, the coronal mass ejection, CME, hits planet Earth after knocking out most of the electronics. You may also hear kittens and rabbits in here. We then get hit by an EMP, by an outside force. And so now we have a greatly reduced electronics footprint. The vast majority of our lives is taken up with trying day-to-day living and just trying to get food and get things stored away for the winter. And so trying to spare manpower for a 24-hour patrol is expensive and difficult. So there are limited numbers of people available to accomplish this task. So what we're looking at is maybe one, maybe two people per day. This would be my house, and me, this would be my road. Within that, we're looking at 4 houses that are actually currently occupied. 3 months into a disaster event, I can guarantee you um, only 3 of those 4 houses would be occupied. One is currently not occupied, and that presents and demonstrates there are several houses on this map that are not currently occupied. And they're not all houses. Some of those are barns and outbuildings, etc. And so that presents to me one of the major challenges of a SHTF event 3 months in is dealing with both occupied dwellings and unoccupied dwellings. And so any sort of a 24-hour patrol is going to be going roughly, in my estimation, especially with not a lot of electronic communications, no more than about 1,000 yards from my dwelling, and then making a rough circle around that. The key purpose of this is going to be to check in with dwellings that are currently occupied, collect information from those folks, and distribute information that I collect along the way. Then check on buildings that are unoccupied and make sure that they remain unoccupied. Also, check surrounding fields and forests and make sure that no criminal elements are taking up residence or moving through those areas. And if anything concerning is discovered, to connect with other able bodied individuals in the area and bring group resources onto whatever the problem is. So a lot of that comes down to making sure, doing basically wellness checks, making sure everybody is doing well and is alive. Where people are not doing well, bring resources to deal with that. Where buildings are empty or unoccupied, then make sure that they remain empty and unoccupied, or that legal owners have taken backup residents. So terrain, this map just shows different types of terrain. I live on a very hilly area with some deep runoffs and washes, and then a bunch of, would be inaccurate to say mountains, but big hills. And so that's going to be a lot of terrain that is highly variable with elevation and is difficult to get consistent radio reception in.